right.
Speaking of people saying things about Cam, Michael Vick had some interesting things to say about Cam Newton this week on Speak For Yourself. Essentially, he said that Cam Newton needs to focus less on what he's wearing and more on being essentially the ideal NFL quarterback and leader.
Go Jamal. Go Jamal.
All right, so I am quoted on the show a lot as saying optics matter. And, you know, people, when the team is struggling and Cam is wearing all this crazy stuff, it looks bad. Now, I say that, but that doesn't mean it is bad. If you call yourself a quote-unquote media personality, journalist, professional TV person, whatever you want to title yourself, whoever gave Michael Vick this title, and I do mean gave, you should know that it doesn't matter. Like, Michael, I wish I could pull the article up because there's an exact quote Michael Vick said, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but whatever he said, I was just like, that is just flat out the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. It was something to the effect of, he needs to focus more on football than he does his clothes.
Now, here's my deal.
I don't know where to go with this. I'm sorry, y'all.
He made these comments on the Speak For Yourself TV show. I want to know how this platform, and I refuse to acknowledge the host by his name, but I want to know how is it that this platform constantly are able to get prominent African Americans onto their show and speak the way that they do about other prominent or African Americans in general.
I was getting to that point. I didn't want to go there, but since
to be fair, that person who we shall not name, he's actually a big fan of Cam Newton, and during the segment he defended him, whereas the other three, Marcellus Wiley, Michael Vick, and I can't recall who the other player was, but they essentially shared that sentiment, and there was some conversation that Cam Newton's never been a leader. He's never been the kind of leader that the Panthers had because he's been so focused on.
And I don't. Let me ask y'all a question. I want somebody out there, and I want one of y'all to point to me one time, and I do mean one time, where any Panthers player other than Cam Newton had something negative to say about Cam Newton as a leader.
It'll never happen.
Except, after the fact, D'Angelo Williams,
Yeah, but who said that? Well, no, it wasn't on Speak For Yourself.
It was on.
It was on the ESPN shows.
Yeah, it was either Good Morning Football.
Yeah, it was on one of the ESPN shows. Yeah, but getting back to Michael Vick, here's why it's so perplexing coming from Michael Vick. One of the things that he said was that you don't need to do that on the job, because your job is to play football.
You don't need to get dressed on the job. Whatever. You don't need to wear clothes on the job. What are we talking about,
here's
man?
The deal, though. His job is an NFL player. His job is to play football.
Right.
When he plays football, he is wearing an NFL-approved uniform. He is not wearing. Now, granted, the press conferences and the post-game interviews, that's a part of his contract that he is obligated to do so. But he is not playing football when he's wearing his get-up. And let me say again that I don't agree with most of the stuff that he wears, but it's his body to wear whatever the heck he wants.
I didn't agree with the stuff Prince wore, but I mean he did.
He is who he is.
But and here's why it's so bad when it comes to Michael Vick. When Michael Vick was in the NFL as a quarterback, as the face of the NFL for a couple years, Michael Vick wore dreads. And he was scrutinized and he was vilified by, we'll go with the establishment for lack of better words, in regards to him being a quarterback and wearing his dreads. And what did the black community do? They defended him. They supported him. They argued in favor for him. Wait, hold on. After Michael Vick gets caught up in the dogfighting scandal, something that Cam Newton has never come close to doing, what did Michael Vick do? He cut his dreads. He cut his dreads so he could be more appeasing to the establishment. And what did they do in response? They sent his ass to the federal lockup for 2 years. Yep. So I don't understand how somebody such as Michael Vick, who has went through everything that he's went through after he made the comments about Colin Kaepernick earlier this year, in which he came back and apologized, could find himself to do the same thing again.
He also made similar comments about Antonio Brown a few weeks ago. Now, granted, Antonio Brown is
he's not very smart.
Yes, but at the same time, the context of those comments was essentially that you need to make yourself presentable to the establishment. And for Mike Vick to say that, I mean, I guess the redemption tour is still
it has to be.
Where I'm going with this is Michael Vick is a person who is looking for acceptance. He's looking for that acceptance because you got to think about it. When he was in federal lockup for dogfighting, man, like the world was against Michael Vick. Like it was, and I'm saying they should have been, and I'm not saying he should have got 2 years for fighting dogs. Let's be clear about that. But at the same time, the NFL was anti-Michael Vick, and the establishment was anti-Michael Vick. Maybe he still feels a lot of that on his shoulder. Maybe there's some guilt. Maybe there's still a lot of negative feelings around that, and maybe that's the result of the redemption tour. Now, sometimes the message can come from the wrong person, obviously. And not to say that we agree with the message here, because we don't, because clothes really don't. Who gives a damn ultimately? But coming from Michael Vick of all people, let's say it. Nobody said that yet. Like, nobody wants to hear that coming from Michael Vick, man. I don't.
Yeah, and like just look at everything that's going on in the NFL right now. You got Jalen Ramsey that's down in Jacksonville saying that he wants out of Jacksonville. He posted a photo that alluded to he may be pregnant right now. You got old boy out in San Diego who literally just ended his holdout. Who just ended his holdout. You got Odell Beckham wearing $100,000 watches on, like all these athletes out here doing this outlandish stuff,
and you're worried about
what this man decides to wear off the gridiron.
I want to say one more thing about this, man. I don't know if and when it's ever gonna happen, man. I just want there's a part of me that wants Cam Newton to start wearing quote unquote regular clothes again, so we can stop talking about this stuff, man. Like, I ultimately don't care. I don't care if Cam Newton wears a pink tutu to the press. I don't care. It's so unimportant to me.
I would want him to wear what is considered acceptable just to see what the people will
what the new narrative is.
Right.
But I wouldn't want him to do it because I don't ever want to see anybody conform to other people's standards.
Right.
And it goes back to the old question, who decided what was acceptable?
Right.
Because if you look at, I want to say it was actually the Panthers Twitter account, and I could be wrong with this, so don't quote me. But Christian McCaffrey, when they flew to Houston this weekend, I think he had on like a nice little three-piece suit, and the handle was like, nobody dresses better than like Christian McCaffrey for like a business trip. So who out there, what establishment out there is saying this is what's acceptable, this is not what's acceptable? Like, somebody help me out. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know where to go with that.
Just a reminder that the worst thing Cam Newton has ever done in his career is make a comment about a female reporter knowing about routes.
Right.
That's the worst thing he's
done.
He's ever done, literally. And now we're saying that he needs to be more acceptable to the establishment. Ridiculous.
Maybe he should wear a tan suit or something. I don't know.
Right.
Well, enough about Ron Mexico. More about Cam.
And there's a lot of you who don't get that, so go Google Ron Mexico and come back and let us know what you think.
So prior to
clap.